So today's theme, light to enlighten the nations. Now, light shows up in the Bible a lot, and according to Google, it's there 433 times, mostly in the Old Testament, not so much in the New Testament. But the light we're looking at today isn't like the light that God said when let there be light. It comes in the form of a star. So throughout the ages, stars have been a big part of religious practices. They've been used for navigation. We've wondered about them, written about them, and, well, they're just amazing, really. But the star in the story, I don't know why I'm pointing, sorry. The star in Matthew 2 is arguably the most famous star in history. And it's still a very recognisable part of the Christian story in contemporary culture. But what do we make of it today? In terms of astrophysics, not a lot. But its story seeks to convey something important about God. Those who saw it followed it. Random visitors from the east. And it guided them to Bethlehem, not to Jerusalem, where it was more likely that a royal baby would be born, but to Bethlehem, where Jesus was. So God's focus wasn't quite what people might have expected, but there it was. So on that note, I'd like you to have a very quick think about where your focus is at the beginning of this new year. Is it where it should be, or has it wandered off the other way? Sorry. Okay, now we've had a look and a talk about the star, let's have a look at visitors that the star brought. There's quite a few myths surrounding the Magi. Most nativity scenes have them at the stable. And if you remember Ian's messy church, all that long time ago, back in December last year, we learned that they weren't there at the stable. They arrived when Jesus was maybe a toddler, maybe not quite a toddler. We also think there was 3 of them, but it doesn't say anywhere that there was only 3. We just assume there's 3 because there was 3 gifts. But what we do know is that they came from the east, and we know that they studied the stars, and they showed a great interest in this amazing, fantastic star that appeared. There's also a chance that they might have known about the prophecy from the book of Numbers. So in Numbers 24:17, it says, "A star will come from Jacob, and a scepter will arise from Israel." So if they did know about the prophecy, which we think they probably did, that could have impacted their thoughts and had them looking out for the star to come. But regardless of all of that, we know that they chose to follow the star, which at some point brought them to Herod. And not knowing any better, they asked Herod to point them to Jesus. Now we know that Herod didn't much like the news that a baby was going to be born and he was going to be king of the Jews. Herod knew that Herod wasn't the legitimate heir to the throne of Jerusalem, and should an actual legitimate heir be born, then he'd be in trouble. And we know that Herod didn't want Jesus to be born, and he was going to do something really nasty when he found him. So he asked the Magi to report back to him when they find the baby Jesus. So off they go again, the Magi, on their journeys, and the star comes back. The star's there again, guiding them. And some people have sought to explain the star by pointing to certain natural celestial happenings at the time through charts and whatnot. But what I'd like you to remember is that in this story, miracles are happening left, right, and everywhere, all the time. Right, so, I'm really sorry. I've lost my... Right. So, back to this star, this awesome, super, crazy, bright star. And it certainly caught the attention of the wise men. And we know that it seemed to disappear and reappear, and it moved around, which stars don't do quite that much, in order to guide them. But that's because God was at work. These visitors were overcome with joy when they saw the star, because they knew it was going to take them to the Messiah. So it wasn't because it was a bright, beautiful star, although I'm sure that did make them happy. They knew they were going to meet the baby Messiah. And when we come to Jesus and we feel that joy, then I can't even imagine how they felt seeing him in person. Wow. But what we need to do is we need to take that joy and we need to share it with other people and give them that joy of Jesus. Because he changed the world. He's just so much bigger and better than any amazing star in the sky. So yeah. Sorry, I got sidetracked. So the wise men went to find the child under the star. See, brought it back to the thingy. The child who would grow up to become the man on the cross, the Saviour, risen from the grave, and then the Lord up in heaven. And one day, he's going to come back and be the king returning to his people. God was at work all that time, putting the star in the sky, bringing strangers and unexpected visitors, people who weren't Jews, who didn't follow God, and yet there they were, following this star across I don't know how many miles, a lot of miles, just to meet the Messiah, the baby Jesus. So while we're looking at a light to enlighten all the nations, I'd like you to have a think about how you can be like the star and how you can enlighten other people's lives by showing them the love of Jesus and how much joy having him in your heart can bring.